Okay, so we are going to try this again. Last time, in the last video, I was riding with my, what I call my Pro Advanced Stability, which is there. Basically, it replicates the cornering speed and the maneuverability that a pro rider has in real life in the game. It's obviously like an average. Every rider's got a different setup, right? And every rider rides different. But basically, if you watch pro riding and then play the game with this setup enough to get good with it, get the feel for it, and watch your speeds, you'll notice that it's pretty damn accurate. Now, as for the joystick feel, yeah, this feels more like the games you're used to, because you know what? The joystick feel has nothing to do with the sim factor of the game, because guess what? In real life, you ride with a set of handlebars that both tilt and turn. And if we had that force feedback style, then I'm sure we could find a setup that's truly perfect. But since we don't have that, the best we can do is match the bike to what happens in real life. And the when the traction is correct, which it is on the 2013 tracks and most of the outdoors tracks, it's not correct on the new 2016-17 Supercross tracks. That's a ridiculous traction, and I've not found a setup that can bring the speed to accurate on those, but that's just because the traction's wrong. But on accurate traction, this setup is right. And yes, the traction and this setup are different entities. The traction affects how much the bike wants to spin tire, how easy it is to lock the back brake, how much the bike wants to slide when you turn. That's the traction. This leveling affects the steering speed in the way that, because the steering is opposite of leaning, if you go below, the lower this number is, the faster you're going to go around a turn. And if you go below 50%, the speeds start getting so extreme that you just can't even compare it to real life. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but it's fucking true. Get the fuck over it. Now, I have a hard time riding with this setup because it is extremely difficult. It is a very pro setup. You have to ride this game every day to be consistent and fast with the setup, because there's nothing to stop you from leaning all the way over to the ground. And it's very touchy. It's very easy to make a mistake. And that's the way I feel like it should be for a pro setup. Which is why I do best with what I consider the amateur setup, which is this. And I consider this the amateur setup because it rides just like the pro setup. It's just a little slower in the turns and not quite as maneuverable. But because of that, it makes it very easy to ride and very consistent. In fact, it's so easy and consistent, MotoKid99 even called it the most arcadey setup he's ever seen. Which, I mean, he's used to the normal setup. He's the setup guru, apparently. But anyways, sorry if change hurts, but I mean, this is the way it is. So, if I were to release this game to the public, if I were to make a game, an MX game, and release it, it would have this setup, and then when you beat the game, you would unlock the pro settings. And anyways, so I can ride 1-to-1 scale tracks and 2013 tracks and outdoor tracks that have proper traction and are made for proper traction with this amateur setup. But I cannot ride the 2016-2017 Supercross tracks with this setup. I have to ride my pro setup at the very least, just to be able to double those tracks, because they're so ridiculously steep and the jumps are so huge. It's crazy. But like, they expect you to be doing 90 around the corners. But yeah, on So I just leave it on those settings because, I mean, it helps me get better anyways. I mean, I don't have the time to dedicate to this game to be consistent on the pro settings because, guess what? I'm an adult. I have a life. I have a job. I have 2 drift cars that I have to daily drive. Not only daily drive, but deliver in. They have to be my delivery vehicles every day. You know how much time and effort is consumed by keeping 2 drift cars reliable enough to count on for your job every day? So, yeah, I'm busy. Plus I have hobbies like RC drifting and, I mean, I used to ride mountain bike and I used to race BMX, but, you know, I don't have bikes anymore. And yes, I have ridden motocross several times. I don't have one, but, I mean, when you're a BMXer and mountain biker, pretty much everyone you know has a dirt bike, and yes, you get to ride them. And so I've ridden them on home tracks and trails, and I would consider myself to be an amateur level. No, I don't have the balls I have in this game to hit triples. I've never hit a triple. In real life on a dirt bike, I've hit doubles and tables. But, I mean, that's where the game factor comes in. And I'm going to shut up so that I can ride now. Because I have found that I am not good at doing both. Oh, and another thing. I can't get above 47 miles per hour on this track. It's because of the bog. And basically the bike just runs out of power at 47 miles per hour. Which, I mean, if that doesn't tell you there's a problem, I don't know what else will. Yeah, as you can see, this setup is a little slow in the turns, especially when it's boggy. These dreaded whoops, let's see if I can get through them. Oh, almost didn't, but... So the bog in the whoops really creates a strange issue where it kind of makes the bike want to nosedive more than usual. Which, I mean, I think everyone knows that's like the worst thing that can happen. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And I'm boned. Oh, God. I didn't think I was going to make that. I got just a little awkward on my steering on that straightaway, and it set me off on that triple, and I had to lift. And you cannot get away with a lift on this track because of the bog. If you lift coming up to a triple, you're doubling. And no, I cannot. That worked. I cannot hit the big lines with either of my setups on this track because of the bog. With the normal setup, which... Alright, I'm going to have to stop. That's getting a little weird. With the normal setup, which I have a very hard time riding with, you can get the speed around these corners to not maintain your momentum. It's all about momentum when you have high resistance. It's kind of like having less power. Which is why bog is a great way to slow people that are using unrealistic setups down. But when you're using a realistic setup, slowing down is basically a death sentence. So the bog is a death sentence. Oh, whoa, 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 I touched the freaking bales. Which I like the way the bales are in this track. I like the way the traction is on this track. I like the scaling of this track. I love the graphics of this track. Everything about this track... Oh, I'm dead. Everything about this track is perfect. Except for this bog. If it weren't for the bog, I'd be able to get through these damn whoops most of the time. Oh! Oh God, where are you going? Alright. And I wouldn't be having this weird wandering problem you keep seeing me have. Oops. This wandering thing, like I said in the last video, is caused by that drag on the front tire, that resistance, just like we're wanting to pull the bike over. Now, it might take me a second to get used to this track because I've been riding that boggy track for a minute now. Whoa. Whoa. And yes, it is very different to get on a track that doesn't bog again. But this setup is so consistent in the corners for me. I don't think, yeah, I'm not going to have a problem, really. So as you can see, give me a pro and amateur setup, since I'm an amateur rider, and I ride perfectly fine on a normal track that isn't fucked up, that isn't badly scaled like the new 2016-2017 Supercross tracks, and isn't ridiculously boggy like the new, like your track, which I love your track, and honestly I've been riding it even with it boggy. I still enjoy it. It's just, my God, you have the ability to make the perfect track. Oh, better small line this. Whoa. I overjumped that triple. So afraid of overjumping now in case. So you can let off in these whoops and it doesn't kill you. You have to hit the brakes before the turns. Oh, whoa. And the traction is right. You go down if you try to turn too sharp, too hard, and hit the brakes and lock up. And I don't know what the scale of this track is, to be honest. I just assume it's 1-to-1 because it feels the most 1-to-1 to me. It feels the same as that 2018 AMA Supercross Round 1 does. And it almost looks the same. I guess it's a little flatter, more extended out. I'm coming up short, but that's okay. I saved myself. But anyways, here I am trying to talk and ride again, which I am not good at. But even with this setup, I am actually surviving because this setup makes it so easy. Uh-oh. As I say that, I finally go down. But I was trying to turn in very slippery whoops. And that's what should happen. You should go down trying to turn in very slippery whoops. Every time I've seen someone do that in real life, they've gone down and No, I've not ridden whoops in real life. Because I've not ridden a supercross track in real life. Of course, BMX racing basically is a supercross track, but they're going a lot slower on a BMX bike. Look at that. That was nice. Look, I can just stay in second, occasionally downshift to first. There's no bog. There's no weird steering issues. The track feels the right size. Everything's just right now. And yes, I could be a little faster with my Pro setup, but I would have to also play this game pretty much constantly to be consistent at that speed. Come on, hay bales, no! Ah! See, that's where the Pro setup would have helped me a little bit. I would have had the maneuverability to get the bike in line in the air there a little better. And I wouldn't have gone off into the hay bales, and that problem would have been averted. But that's a trade-off. And that's fine. So as you can see, I do pretty fucking good with this setup on a proper track. And I would do even better with the Pro setup on a proper track like this one if I'd put the time in. And I know that's true because I've done it before. Woohoo! Wheelied up the face of the jump. Anyways, I'll leave it there. You get the point.